Call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome. We have the agenda before us. Are there any additions, corrections, deletions? And I'll make a couple announcements regarding personnel, but let's take care of the agenda.
Trustees, I'm just going to put yard waste.
Under trustees yard waste. Anything else? Okay. The agenda will stand then as edited. Just a couple of announcements. First of all, Trustee Alino is out recovering after some surgery. I had the opportunity to talk to him actually on Saturday, and he was in really good spirits. He's got a little recovering to do, so he's got a ways to go, but he's in great spirits. He wanted me to make sure I told everybody. He thanks everybody for their prayers. He thanks everybody for their concerns. And I knew right away. I texted him. I didn't want to bother him. I texted him, and it wasn't like 2 minutes later my phone rang, and on his first word that he told me, I could tell he's feeling relieved, I guess, is a good word. So anyhow, he just wanted me to pass that along. We're hoping that his recovery continues to move along, and let me see, I think he may miss the next meeting. We're not sure of that yet. And
Or he may not, because, yeah, we may be making a little change up.
Correct, yes.
And
yeah.
our law director, yeah.
And our law director is on vacation, so okay, missed anybody. So,
Did our chief information officer, Tommy, is he on vacation?
Oh, is he excused tonight?
Yeah,
We've got Eric here as a call.
Okay, thank you.
second team.
It's not working.
All right.
See?
Well played, Mr. Rice.
All right, moving along. Let's start off with the sheriff's report. Sergeant Cumming, welcome.
How's everybody doing?
Doing good?
Good. Before you should have the May monthly report. Our calls for service was a 16% increase. Total call for service was 1788. Our crashes were down. We still had 65 for the month. Crashes with injury were significantly higher, with 30 for the entire month. Alarms were down, which was good, with 98. Our traffic stops saw a moderate increase with 336. 175 citations. Arrests were up quite a bit with 77, and we completed 226 vacation checks. Detective Ross had 13 assigned cases. He was able to close 2 thefts, a theft of a motor vehicle, and a death investigation. Second page should be your 2018-2019 comparable, and then our last page should be, since we started keeping track, kind of how the trend is going. We don't have any.
Clearly shows that the additional bodies are helping.
For sure. I mean, I was really surprised. I mean, our crashes were slightly down, but our crashes with injury, I mean, total crashes, we had 95 crashes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could say that this number, at least the crashes with injury, are probably higher because we're handling a good majority, if not all, unless the state rolls up on something. But I think, for a couple of those years in our yearly report, there was a significant amount that the state was handling.
Oh, for sure.
In regards. So, I mean, we had 95 for the month, which is a pretty large amount of crashes, in addition to our standard calls for service. So they're staying busy, they're staying proactive with traffic stops, and we seem to be getting the job done.
Yeah, and I've been getting some good feedback regarding visibility in the neighborhoods.
Good, that's what we strive for.
Yeah.
Well, definitely very too, because somebody was behind me this morning on Schneider's. I was just getting ready to pull into the fire station. I didn't even realize they were behind me first. slowing down, sort of looking, who is this, what are they going in there for? Thinking, go home to the gate. They kept on cruising by, so I mean, they're definitely cognizant of.
Yeah.
Good, good. Any other questions?
Any questions?
All right, guys.
That's good, thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thanks. All right, nothing unfinished, nothing new. That takes us to fiscal officer's report. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you. Fiscal Officer number 1 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of pending warrants in an amount of $439,076.52.
I will so move.
Second's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for resolution to authorize payment of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $250,000.
I will move on fiscal officer number 2.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for resolution to authorize payment for the following medical claims.
So moved.
Second's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the investment report. The interest for May was $21,839.07, which puts us at $92,155.43.
For half the year. That was
5 months.
5 months. 5/12 of the year. That's positive.
Yeah, we're still on pace. It should be around 175 for the year. Fiscal Officer number 5 is a request for resolution to authorize payment to members of the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals and Zoning Commission for the period of January 1, 2019 through June 30, 2019, at the rate of $50 per meeting for a total of $1,700.
So moved.
Second's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 6, whereas Plain Township has been invited to join the 2020 Ohio Association of Public Treasurers Retro Group with a target refund of 25% administered through comp management for the contract period beginning September 1, 2019, with the policy year beginning January 1, 2020. Comp management is sponsored by the Ohio Association of Public Treasurers. Projections of comp management will provide a net estimated savings of $29,770. Be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to enter into a contract with comp management to provide the services as detailed in the service contract, which is attached hereto and made a part of these minutes, and to approve payment for the administrative fee at a cost not to exceed $2,725 to be paid as follows.
Also moved.
Second's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 7, A, B, and C are the bank reconciliations for March, April, and May. If there's any questions regarding those, I'll be available after the meeting. And for Fiscal Officer number 8, it's a request for resolution to authorize the following transfers.
I will so move.
Second's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
That concludes the Fiscal Officer report.
Next, that takes us to the administrator.
Thank you. Item number 1 is a resolution to approve payment to Canton Data Print for the printing, creating, editing, and postage of the 2019 Plain Township Fall newsletter.
So moved. Second's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that's the end of the administrator report.
Thank you. That takes us to Fire Chief Schellenberger.
Thank you. Item number 1 is our monthly report. And just on the first page there, May's kind of busy month for us, school programs, etc. And we had some scholarships that we gave out to high school.
Yeah, you got a nice write-up in the School, yeah,
Right.
school paper, yeah.
The diesel systems are in and functioning that we got through the FEMA grant, so that was a little hard to see some of those pictures, but that's what some of the addition pictures are on there.
Nice, good. Yeah, I see some of that. Actually, that wall right there, you can see that's the north wall.
At two.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Questions there? All right, number 2.
Item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the purchase and payment of trench shoring equipment and accessories from Finley Fire per attached quote not to exceed $12,000 to be taken from the following fund numbers.
I will move on FD number 2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. Just a quick,
Yeah, this is equipment we're going to use for our, I guess we call it a specialized trailer that we're building for below grade rescues, trench equipment, and these are struts and stuff to be able to shore the boxes, and we'll have available.
good. Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Then item number 3 is American Heart Association Mission Lifeline Gold Plus Award. It's like the 3rd year we received that. They stepped up. They kind of go like, this is a gold plus. They have gold, different ones, and this goes to all the guys. It's for response times, setting EKGs, following stroke protocols, and all that. So all the equipment we buy, the modems, the heart monitors, having the resource and manpower, that's what they grade you on all that to get the times that you need to get that.
Good. Good
As
job.
much as we need to thank the entire team for helping deliver on that. Again, it's a thank you back to the taxpayers for giving us the resources to be able to provide that service.
Absolutely.
That's for sure. Number 4.
Okay, item number 4 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to offer employment for part-time probationary firefighter paramedic. And it's Tony Aquino, Matthew Brown, Nicholas Testa, Kyle Johnson. And then along with that, we have some EMTs, those are paramedics. So the resolution continues for the employment of part-time probationary paramedic EMTs, Andrew Skolmich, Ryan Clevenger, Ethan Lowry, Mason Pierpont.
So moved.
Second's been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And that concludes fire department.
Thanks, Chief. That takes us to the road department. Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is the monthly report for May. Do you have any questions? Paving's going well.
Getting close to done.
I'd say we're probably 80%.
Really? That far?
We're waiting
Wow.
on the gas company over in the Ashwood area, which they should be done next week. And then,
Were we into like September last year?
yeah.
These
Wow.
guys were.
Yeah, well, that early start made a difference.
Helped us.
Yeah. Nice. Any questions? Okay, number 2.
Item number 2 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize posting of temporary no parking signs on both sides of the streets listed for the Hall of Fame proceedings to be posted on July 31st and removed on August 5th.
So moved.
Second's been moved and seconded, discussion. This is just an annual thing that we do, right?
With a lot less streets than we
Yeah.
used to.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And item number 3 is a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the posting of temporary no parking on both sides of the following streets as listed for the Black College Football Hall of Fame Classic proceedings to be posted on August 30th and removed on September 2nd.
I'll move on to road 3.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. That takes us to zoning. Mr. Ferrara?
Thank you, sir. First item on the agenda is the monthly report.
All the afters look so much better than the befores.
Yeah, that 1900 Whipple thought it would never happen.
Oh, that's the.
Yeah,
that's the,
it is.
the-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been
Yes,
going for
yeah,
That
years.
says, yeah.
It's progressing, that's good. Any questions? All right, next.
Item number 2 is a resolution to declare items A through C as nuisance abatements.
I will move on zoning A through, to A through C.
Yes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
And item number 3 is a resolution to declare items A and B as nuisance payments.
So moved.
Second's been moved and seconded, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Item number 4 is a resolution to set a date for a hearing to discuss a zone change for approximately 30.76 acres located near the corner of Pittsburgh and Mount Pleasant. The current zoning on the property is rural residential. Applicant is seeking a change to low-density multifamily residential district. The hearing will take place at the next trustee meeting, July 9th, 2019 at 6:15 p.m.
That's a problem.
That's, well,
Do we need to change that?
potentially, yeah. Al is hoping he'll be at the next meeting. We want to operate like he's not, because it would be just incredible if he is at the next meeting.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Have you already published it?
Yes.
We just don't really change our date as we were looking at that. So we're talking about the 2nd or the 3rd?
July 3rd?
Yeah.
We have time to change that publication.
Can you change the publication to July 3rd at 8 a.m.? Does that work for, did you say you had?
You're saying,
Is that that Wednesday where you could do it at 8 o'clock, Scott?
yeah, is that what did, I thought this was, oh, it's the Board of Trustees.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll only give me 8 days.
How many days
I
do you
need
need?
10.
So change it to the second meeting in July.
Does that create a problem? That'll be the 23rd.
I think as long as we set the hearing tonight,
Okay.
that we're okay. We've met the 20.
Because I'm not back until the 20th. I mean, I'm flying in the 22nd, won't be back until late that evening.
So it'd be
I mean, I'll be here.
You'll be at the
20th.
meeting.
I'll be
We'll
at the
have
meeting.
you at the
That's-
23rd.
The meeting is the 23rd.
July
I'm pretty sure.
23rd
Yeah.
at 6:15 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay. So I will move on zoning number 4 based on the date edited to the
Tuesday, July 23rd.
Tuesday, July 23rd.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
And that's all for zoning, sir.
Next up, that takes us to parks. Mr. Steinberg.
Thank you. My one and only item tonight is the monthly report.
New pick 'em up.
Yeah, they worked out really, really well, especially when towing those trailers. And some of the equipment.
There's been, nice.
They've certainly been getting their use.
Speaking of equipment, I forgot to ask, you guys all lettered up? Rolling?
We're actually still waiting on the lettering. It should have been here yesterday, so, but.
That's for the new loader.
The loader. We had Southeastern Loader trained everybody. It's pretty similar to the other one, but there are new things on it, so everybody was trained last Friday, so.
All right, any questions? Anything significant to point out?
No, it's a pretty standard month for us in the spring.
Okay, thanks. That takes us to communications.
Thank you. There is one communication tonight from Stan Tucker, who lives on Spangler, and it reads, "A big thank you to John Sabo and the Plain Township Trustees Board for taking care of the problem with not seeing one backing out of my driveway. So far, so good. It is great to know that we have a great community support from our board in Plain Township. Let's keep Plain Township a great community to live in. Thank you, Stan Tucker."
So this is my neighbor. He walks every day, so if I'm out mowing, we always have a chat. And I was out mowing and he just happened to have this in his pocket and he hand delivered it. So, but this is that situation that we had, that you guys helped out with, sheriff helped out with, and zoning helped out with. And at least for now, and this is his words, not mine, it's much better than it was. And for now, everything is good. He feels much safer with the visibility, so, you know, and I see people are parking differently there, so, you know, whatever we did, just talking to a few people, it worked. So, I know he was happy. I helped him with another thing that had nothing to do with this, but I got him a new hot water heater. All right. So, that takes us to the portion of the meeting where public speaks. If there's anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board, please state your name and address for the fiscal officer.
Eric Haynes, Plain Township, 2600 Easton. I would like to thank the road department again on behalf of the Parks Department for assisting us last week with a job where we needed to add some additional camera surveillance to our northwest lot at Diamond. Yeah, Joe got his crew assembled, sent them out there, had it cracked out by
But it's
noon.
actually the Joint Solid Waste District project, not a Parks project.
Well,
It was
it's
in
in
the
our-
park,
it's
it was
in
in the
our
park,
parks,
but it was a
though.
Joint Solid
Yeah,
Waste
it's
District
a-
You guys
project.
did
So
It
it
helps
is
our
a
parks.
collaborative.
It's collaborative.
Collaborative for sure.
Multi-jurisdictional.
Even better.
Could not have done it without the skill sets and the machines that these guys have. So I do appreciate it.
So Joe, you guys were able to do it without Tommy though?
No, they pulled Tommy out of school. No. He was at Boy Scout camp, they had to pick him up or whatever.
Skyping it in.
Yes.
He had to help pull the string through the conduit.
All right, so that takes us to concerns of trustees.
Mr. Haas, will you add a number 2? Can we add number 2 about
Sure.
the meeting in July 3rd? We'll go over that.
To July meeting.
Yeah.
I know I've already called in here, and I think Lisa, I think you've said something to Joe, but I promised the resident who called that I'd make it part of the public record. You know, there's a lot of conversation of what's going on, again, with yard waste. We actually addressed it during our Stark County Township Association meeting last Thursday down in Navarre, when Bethlehem Township was hosting us. And I had a phone conversation yesterday about midday with David Held. To our residents' concerns, yard waste will still be here through the end of 2019. Funding should still potentially be available for another 2 years. The challenge is Kurt's brothers, who bought Earth and Wood, is not getting into the trucking and logistics business of driving to Lake, Perry, Plain, Canton Township, Brewster, there's one, Nimishillen Township. So anybody who is using Earth and Wood, contracts will be honored through the end of the year. Moving forward, the financial resources that Dave said would be there will still potentially be there, and I say potentially because there's some scenarios that ultimately he's gonna look to try to get everybody together from the different communities to talk through this. Either we, as a township, see if we can find another composter that's willing to come in, buy the material, truck it off at a reasonable rate. Is Craig Snee, the former owner of Earth and Wood, and Dave presented over a year, maybe even a year and a half ago, at La Pizzeria. most of the competitive bids are almost 2 to 2.5 times what we're paying currently. So if we can find somewhere else, there may be the potential for that. But also the waste district is looking at, hey, can we find 30, 40 acres somewhere that would be a central drop-off? Now, you know, for residents who may be used to dropping it at Plain or Lake, yeah, it's gonna mean a longer haul, but it's still a provided service for which they are not paying for. So I said I'd make it part of the record because, you know, some resident conversations, we just like to know that you guys are talking about this, thinking about this, and I mean, to try to provide this level of detail, at least, you know, we're 6 months
Well,
out
Joe
right now.
has, I gave Joe some places to call. He has a positive contact who may be interested, but they won't be interested if everybody can dump at our site because they won't be able to handle it. So I sent David Held an email today and said, if the funding's still there, however, it's used in a different manner and it's gonna cost way more, is there a way that that site can just be for Plain Township? Because we may have a solution if it can be. Now, if they say no and it's open to everybody still, then I don't know that we're gonna find a hauler to take all of this.
Yeah, which
He's
is,
supposed to be calling.
which historically, the answer's been no on that, but
Right, now there's
I'm
a
not-
whole separate
I
set of
know.
circumstances,
yeah,
so.
so,
We're gonna
we'll
meet
see
there
where-
on site.
Yeah, they're
goes.
meeting down on
is
site
is
to
that
take a
that
look
bowl-
at it.
Is that that bowl
Yes,
country?
yes.
Okay, because that's who
But
can't
he-
touch
he-
it. But,
When he heard the total with everybody, they can't handle it.
yeah,
But if it can be, and I asked the question, I'm waiting on a response, if it can be Plain Township only, which we're putting in money also, and it's Plain
But we
Township
can't continue to
employees
do that.
only, yeah, no, I mean, even with our own employees, when we load it, it's
Yeah.
Plain Township employees loading it.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's Plain Township only, then we may have a shot. If it's not, I don't know that we're gonna find a hauler.
well, and that's where I think, for the sake, we'll keep the dialogue
Yeah.
on record, so folks can be aware, because the reality is at the end of the day, as we discussed at the County Township Association meeting, it's been a free service, so of course, taking something away that's for, again, we've only ever been the host location like the other places have. It hasn't been us predominantly funding it, and the
No.
homeowners are gonna have to either pony up and go, okay, I gotta pay a landscaper to come clean my leaves up, and the cost is the cost, or, you know, find the way to mix it in with their trash, which really isn't the preferred
But that's
method.
what the Detroit Solid Waste District told us
Says.
to tell people, is to put it
Absolutely.
in your trash.
Correct.
Yeah,
That was-
but people don't like to do that, you're right. They don't, and the thing is, and the board, we were gonna do a summer shutdown, and we have just been inundated, and
With all
if
the
this.
rain and so forth.
Yes, and if this changes next year, we will have to operate differently. Because the funds are gonna go faster because we're paying for somebody to come pick them up, we're paying more. And we really have to do 3 days in the spring, summer shutdown, and then look at the fall. But those are things to talk about.
Yeah.
I don't think we're spending a lot right now. We're so far behind getting them in here.
We can't get them in to take it out.
I call every morning. they
cannot
promise
get
us
Kurt's
we
Brothers
brought
to take it.
75 loads.
I think we're starting to see the downfall of that business.
Yeah.
And what's happening, even though we realize how valuable, just like Scott said, we know how valuable that service is to our residents and how much it's used, and we would like to be able to continue to make that available. But unfortunately, that business is no longer attractive to those people who are in it to make money. It starts to become a burden, and they're not, nobody wants that ground up.
Yeah, they don't
stuff.
want it. Even if
So-
David Held told me, even if
They've
we
got a
got somebody to
3 year supply.
carry it to Kurt's Brothers, they don't want it.
No.
They have a 3-year supply of mulch
Yes.
sitting over there right now.
Yeah.
You
Is it
drive
exactly
down
what he told?
Schuylkill,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
what we can't do is we gotta get it out because it's our fire training building. We can't do that to
Well,
those
there's
guys.
multiple things, you know, from an EPA standpoint, and, you know, some of those odors that are
Mhm.
offensive, and
As it gets
and
hotter.
that's exactly right, and, you know, it's kind of sitting, I won't say it's a truly residential neighborhood, but it's enough residential that if it gets too bad, then we gotta look at another process. So it's not as if we can crack a whip and make it happen. We're at the mercy of how that business is being done by outsiders. Because it's not any type of business that we would want to get into on our own.
But what we can't, we
Well,
don't
not
have
at all.
we don't have the
No,
capabilities.
capital
and-
investment isn't even remotely worthwhile, but I mean, even though our dynamics are a little different here, we can still see, I mean, the other risk complications are how many people think they're gonna start burning leaves.
Right.
That's one element, or how many folks think you're gonna start driving out to the country, or neighboring, Dillon Township or Parish Township and start dumping, I mean, then the Forest Sheriff. Oh, absolutely.
Bags and leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So I said I'd bring it up for public dialogue, so we'll
Yeah.
continue, because essentially the concerns of most folks is around, okay, if the funding does, you know, if a solution can't be found, and it is on us, is there anything that can be done to provide us with a list of, you know, prospective sites or fund service providers that may,
Alternatives.
you know, whether it's a Rice's and a Wurstlers.
and
which-
Rice's has said no.
Yeah.
We've talked to them,
Yeah, and I just,
yeah,
we've been down that road
Yeah.
because of,
but we talked to them again
yeah.
Mhm.
recently, and they're not interested.
Well, it's
Because we, yeah,
Yeah,
we have started those conversations
Yeah.
since we talked, Scott, you brought it to us, we're like going full board trying to find a solution, but we'll see.
The public just needs to understand that all efforts are being made,
Yeah,
and that, you know, we're controlling what we can, and
yeah,
at the end of the day, the outcome may not be favorable, but it's
Yeah.
not gonna be one of those things at last minute where it's thrust upon that,
yeah,
oh no, nobody said anything about this. Well, they have a responsibility to watch the YouTube recorded meetings,
Yeah.
read meeting minutes, quarterly
Read the
newsletters,
papers,
read the
yeah.
paper, all of that stuff, so.
yeah, yeah.
That was the only thing I had on yard waste, and then the
Yeah.
second item, Lisa, you had requested was July.
Yeah,
July
I
3rd.
was hoping the board could do a business meeting July 3rd at 8 AM, because since Al is home recovering, we're not sure if he can be at the next meeting or not, and if he's not, there's only one trustee because John has had a pre-scheduled vacation. So at the minimum, I thought if we did just a quick business only, so checks could get paid and any resolutions that are hanging could get taken care of. I mean, I'm talking maybe 15 minutes, no executive session,
So that'd be July 3rd.
July
at
3rd.
What time?
8 AM.
8 AM. I'm okay with that. if you're-
I'm good.
So, and Tom, you're gonna be out of town.
Right.
But
So
Luther will be
Luther will
here,
be
we
here.
already talked
Okay,
about that,
good.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. So then that would serve as the second meeting, and then we'd have our July
Essentially a 3 week shift.
23rd. Yeah, that happens
Yeah.
normally.
Correct.
We've gone 3
Yeah, it'd be
weeks.
the 23rd, so.
Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
thank you. I'll do a press release, we have the press here this evening, but I'll
Yeah.
still do a press release. So essentially, we'll cancel the July 10th meeting, is it 10th or
No,
9th?
it's
July
the
9th,
It's the ninth.
and we will meet July 3rd at 8 AM.
Jessica, can you get that out for us, please? Thank you. All right, anything else? That takes us to the approval of the minutes for June 11, 2019, and I will move for the approval of the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
All right, we do have a need for an executive session. Be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 6:34 PM from this regular meeting of June 25th as authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of the consideration of 1E, promotion or demotion of a public employee or official, 1F, compensation of a public employee or official, 2, number 7A, and this is pretty lengthy to read. Do I have to read it?
You don't have to read it.
So,
You say
on
7A.
to, not to 7A. I will make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
All right.
10th meeting, is it 10th or
No,
9th?
it's
July
the
9th,
It's the ninth.
and we will meet July 3rd at 8 a.m.
Jessica, can you get that out for us, please? Thank you. All right, anything else? That takes us to the approval of the minutes for June 11th, 2019, and I will move for the approval of the minutes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
All right, we do have a need for an executive session. Be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 6:34 p.m. from this regular meeting of June 25th as authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose of the consideration of 1E, promotion or demotion of a public employee or official, 1F, compensation of a public employee or official, 2, number 7A, and this is pretty lengthy to read. Do I have to read it?
You don't have to read it.
So,
You say
on
7A.
2, not 2, 7A. I will make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Sabo?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
All right.